Dyslexia is the most common learning difference, with an estimated 1 in 5 people experiencing it in some form, from mild to severe. In many cases, this trait develops in the childhood years, making standardized schooling difficult and may cause that child to fall behind or feel unintelligent. So how does a child with dyslexia thrive in today's society? We stopped by the Skank School in Atlanta, Georgia, where this private school was created specifically for kids with dyslexia.
Our mission has been to remediate dyslexics in the area of reading in a short-term, couple of years way. So it's more of a kind of a remediation immersion experience where they come and they do reading all day, every day, but they're able to be well remediated enough to where then when they leave us, they can go back into a mainstream setting.
The school serves around 250 students each year with a 10-to-2 student-to-teacher ratio to focus on developing reading and writing skills using the Orton-Gillingham method.
You know, as we're teaching this phonics, we make sure to make it as multisensory as possible. So when we're sounding out syllables, when we're moving little chips down to hear all those syllables, they're playing games together with each other, really just to get it in as many ways as you can. Since we know everybody learns in their own special way, we want to make sure that we're helping them to be able to learn it in their best way. You know, on a concrete academic level, I mean, I've seen kids go to grade levels of reading in 1 year, and you just realize that that kid was kind of locked in their previous school environment, and they came to us. We were able to see more how their mind could take it in, and then they just flew, and it's incredible.
On top of using these techniques to teach kids, preparing them to be integrated back into standardized schools is a top priority.
They need to learn to advocate for themselves. So for those kids who are leaving, they need to know that they can go to their teacher and say, hey, I'm dyslexic and I need help with this. So teaching them to know themselves as learners and understand what they like to do as learners and what they're comfortable with. And also for our kids who are new in 3rd grade or are still kind of getting used to the way that we do things here, teaching them that it's okay to ask questions. You know, it's okay to be wrong and it's okay to make mistakes, because that's where learning happens and that's where growing happens.
The amount of growth and success stories the school has received is innumerable, leaving many parents astounded at their kids' transformation.
It was just really challenging because it was hard to read and you just had to deal with people laughing at you.
In kindergarten, my teachers were noticing that I was struggling to read.
The one thing I did get was that I was going to be different and that I had to get tutored.
I never knew what phonics were until I came here, and that just opened a whole world.
I love to read now. I read every day after school, and it's fun. It's fun now. It's not bad.
It's been different because the teachers know how to teach dyslexia, and they're just really supportive, even though if you not that good at reading. It's just they really support you, and even though they challenge you, but they're really loving too.
And it felt kind of like you were in a story, how you went from like an evil witch to a prince, because it's magical, it really is. It's fun to be here.
We get parents who are in tears. One of the most meaningful conferences that I've had was, this parent was an educator at a nearby Atlanta school. You know, we showed all the progress and we were like, look how great he's doing, and she just wept and she said, you guys have unlocked my child.
Although they can serve only a limited amount of students at a time, the school invests in training teachers across the nation on how to implement these specialized learning techniques.
You know, one of the things we found out is that dyslexia is a little bit on a continuum. I always kind of say that A to Z, and there are some students that might need it broken down a little bit more and then even more repetition. So some students may need to be pulled out of a program like ours so they can get that extra remediation. We do that here at Skank. But we know that there are a lot of children in regular schools, public schools including, that are dyslexic, where if they were given this good training, they could overcome dyslexia as well. And we wanted to reach out to public school teachers who very often don't know what to do with their struggling readers because they just weren't taught in teacher training programs. So we wanted to share that information with them and how they can do that in their own regular classroom.
Because moving across country and attending a specialized school isn't in the cards for everyone, the teachers at Ecclestone Elementary School in Orlando, Florida, have created a special power hour for those kids who need a little extra boost.
When I'm working with students, we start, and a lot of the stuff is repetitious, just to better help those students get more practice with those particular decoding pieces of phonics. So I like to highlight the actual phonics skill that we're working on, or the sound, which is why some of the stuff I underline, and I'll have them give the sound first, just so they're constantly practicing that sound. Then I'll go ahead and let them blend the rest of the word. And if they have some difficulties, sometimes kids struggle with being able to actually hear when they're breaking up the phonics sounds, which is why sometimes I'll have them hold the sounds into the next sound, so they're actually able to hear what that word should sound like versus the different sounds broken up into pieces.
While Power Hour is not just for students with dyslexia, they have found that those specifically with dyslexic traits are benefiting greatly from these methods.
If we're starting to see that students aren't making the necessary gains that we would prefer for them to see, then we can start looking to see if we need to go into evaluating them and looking for an IEP or even a 504, because sometimes it's not necessarily that they have a issue with learning actually, but maybe they need a little bit more time to connect the thoughts, and that's where the 504s come in and providing the accommodations. And so with the IEPs, they get their own specialized instruction regarding whatever the evaluation comes back and the data shows that they need more support in, on top of the interventions that the school continues to provide. So when it comes to children with dyslexia, the visual supports are helpful for them. So like when a student didn't know, a lot of my students struggle with the sound of E still. So I'd always reference back to the picture of the cat on the end of the chair. So being able to have a visual support when you're teaching sounds and phonics to those kids with dyslexia will help them. Also, just body movement. So if you were to give a kid, if you're teaching like high frequency words or something, if you were to give a body movement to go along with that, I've used that strategies with some kids when teaching high frequency words, that'll help them make the connection and remember as well.
It helps me know how to say words correctly, and it helps me know how to say them correctly, and it helps me a lot, making me get to a higher grade. It helps other people to learn too, and it also helps everyone to learn the same way I feel.
Although a public school, Ecclestone Elementary is proving that with a little extra help, every student can succeed, no matter their learning difference.
Public schools can help those that need a little extra boost just by providing the constant practice, just allowing them to get the opportunity to practice in isolation, practice embedded in words, and really just allowing the children to have fun with it. Because the other piece is, when they're struggling readers, sometimes they can feel defeated when it comes to reading. But if you can make it engaging, make it fun, let them understand that it's okay to make the mistake and we're gonna move on from here, then that'll really support kids with a learning disability, and just letting them know and reassuring them that we're gonna get through this together.
For A World of Difference, I'm Cindy Peterson.